Welcome to Inside the Firm, a podcast dedicated to small business owners and hosted by entrepreneurs, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko. Each week, they take you on their journey of how to start, run, and grow a business by bringing you inside their architecture and real estate development firm. Get a behind-the-scenes tour of how these business leaders manage their clients and foster company culture while creating new and innovative projects. And now your hosts, Alex Gore and Lance Cayko.
Hey-o, how's it going, Lance?
It's going, my friend. It's a wonderful sunny day. Here we are. We're coming out of the gloom. It's been 2 weeks of gloom and doom in Colorado.
Yeah, it's sunny. It's nice. I want to call you Lance Cayko every time I refer to you.
Nonstop.
But
that's what Kyler wants. When he goes to college, he's like, I'm going to introduce myself as Cayko. I'm going to be known just like, it's going to be like Prince, just Cayko.
Just Cayko.
No, Kyler's my son, just for everybody who doesn't know.
Yeah.
One of my sons.
Sometimes I do it in school, and I realize, like, they don't know that it's Cayko.
They have
don't
no
know
clue
that I am just
They think we're faking it with Cayko.
Yeah. But then other people, too, like, if you just start off this podcast, they're going to think you're Lance Cayko instead of Lance Cayko.
Of course.
I'm going to keep it up. I'm going to keep mixing it up.
However I can amuse you with just by all that, make it happen.
There you go.
Who
are you to correct me on your name?
I'm just here to entertain people.
Yeah.
That's it.
So some good development news.
Really good development news. Me? You want me to talk about it?
Yeah, why not?
Okay. So, even though Al put it on the agenda today, is here the good news is what Alex and I predicted 2 years ago, and what we were wanting to do with the product that we were putting in the location that we have bought land in. We were right. But there was a lot of effort going into it in getting it to value that way.
So one of our mistakes was we were conservative with our estimates of what we could sell for, and we were being conservatives, but someone else was telling us we were being crazy.
Crazy. Our conservative was crazy to them because they're like, you're never going to be able to sell it for that much.
Yep, never.
Yep, exactly.
Yep. So then, okay, we're getting a bank loan, and we're basing it off of those numbers, and some of our developers' friends were saying, no, they'll sell for higher, put them for higher. But anyways, the numbers were still kind of working, and the big thing was, okay, no matter what, all this work could be for naught if our appraisal comes back at terrible. You know, like, it could throw a major wrench. So the appraisal came back, and it was higher than what even we expected.
Yep.
Higher than what we expected. So then it was like, holy cow, now our numbers look better. Now they're not even loaning 75%.
Well, and then there was a little Easter egg in there is what I would call it, and that was the land. We didn't know that our land would be valued. I'm going to do a quick percentage here about how much more percentage they valued it at compared to where we thought it was going to be at. So
80% higher.
What's that?
80% higher.
80% higher. Is that what you're just guessing right now?
My brain.
I should just know this number. It came in 33% higher.
I was way off
than what we bought it for, and it's because we think it's because now they see the value in it because we have our plats recorded. Right? Is that what you're thinking? That's what I was thinking. Maybe I'm just talking on the fly.
No, because it's in there. The number's in there. It comes for a reason. Is that you could sell this now and say, hey, look, this has been figured out. You can put this on.
You can put this on there. Yeah, and then obviously we have proof. Because it's recorded through the county and our permits are ready to pull. So all of a sudden, we basically got about $90,000 of equity because we went through the appraisal process, because we went through all the permitting process. Little Easter egg for me and little Al.
Yep.
We were like ecstatic at the end of the day. I couldn't be happier.
And here's how do you create value? There's a couple different ways, right? But in architecture, a lot of it comes through design, right? Literally user experience. And that's what different neighborhoods are. And you can do it through quality. You can do it through, trees, walking paths, all this other stuff, right? So the problem with comparisons is that, okay, ours hasn't been built yet. So if you're doing immediate comparisons, you are constraining us to the past. And obviously that's very logical because they have nothing else to base it off of. But what this person did and what we've been doing in our head is, no, we're making something new. And it's not comparable to what is there.
In the particular neighborhood.
Yep. It's comparable to these Denver, Boulder, and Prospect. There's this fancy, like, one of the best neighborhoods in the United States in Longmont. Very kooky design, very cool stuff in it. So we are making that in a new location. And then that's where some of the value comes from. And that's why it makes sense. And
if you look up, I want everybody, if you're listening, look this up. Go to Prospect New Town, all one word, prospectnewtown.com. And the description is Colorado's first new urbanist neighborhood located blah, 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 blah. It's at the south edge of the city we operate in. Yep. And it's exactly what Alex said. And that was our idea from the beginning was we're going to recreate what's going on there up in this new area. And nobody believed us that that good idea, like, oh, cool idea, it'll look great, but you're wasting your time and your money and everything because like nobody's going to go for that price. But when it came down to the appraiser, it was since there was nothing in the neighborhood that we're developing that is this kind of typology, is this kind of look, they were forced to look at Prospect and say, this is your comparable.
Yep. And think about Prospect or some neighborhood in your head that doesn't exist right now. So Prospect is next to houses that are maybe 600, 700,000, but they're bigger houses, your traditional, like where your professionals live, stuff like that. Prospect even has smaller square footage than its neighbors, but its price, their house price is $1 million. You are not getting anything for out $1 million.
Literally that much.
Yep. So you compare it to what it's around, and somehow the developer had a vision and it worked out. You can't compare it to what's next to it because it's something different. It has its own value.
And admittedly, we're the new kids on the block with our development. And I've talked to some of the very first townhomes, and the very first duplex that we ever were commissioned. Both of those projects, same thing. So like we feel like we've had past precedents based on our professional experience with these other developers working as their architects of like, you can be the first kid on the block. Are you nervous as all hell? Do you hope that the appraiser who's going to value your project sees that and also recognizes I can't value this based on the surrounding context?
Yep. I'm looking right at your face, and right behind you is that project where it's a duplex, it's modern, it's cool, and if you look at Zillow and everything, the one right next to it was still built like a couple years before, but like literally 80s style.
80s style, compartmentalized, terrible.
This one is worth more than the one next to it. Right next to it. It's worth more.
And then what's hilarious?
It's better design.
Yeah.
They're designers. It's better design. It's worth more.
Yep. So what I really liked about what you're going on about that is like architects love to say that I'm worth 10%, or I'm worth 5%, or I'm worth more than a draftsman because I bring value through my design. It's one thing to say that, but now if you're able to do a development like this, all of a sudden you're able to literally show them like, look, I'll even show you how we're worth more, how we're going to make your project worth more. Here's exactly what we did. Like, what an awesome thing to have in your arsenal for when you go out there and try to sell clients. This is awesome. We have physical proof. We're like, yeah, we were the first ones on the block because we designed it this way. And maybe that's where like you can come in and show like and convince somebody who's even nervous about buying the land. Let's say a developer comes up to you and they're like, and they say that they want you to do a quick study to see how many units you can put on. And they say, well, the only thing is I'm really nervous is like I'm going to be the first one on the block. Well, guess what? We did it too. Here's how you do it. And we'll help walk you through the whole process because there's little secrets to making it happen.
Why don't we start with that presentation or that logic is with that duplex house, show the one right next to it, say current value of the one right next to it, R1. And if we could find a couple examples of a house right next to a house right next to a house, and then a development right next to a development.
Proof, son. Proof. Because it's one thing to say it. It's quite another to have backup of it.
And what I would do with our development is, hey, here's what the value was if you were doing a development in this neighborhood, straight up comps. Here's what it sold for.
Yeah.
So I mean like the not appraisal, but the analysis that we got 6 to 8 months ago.
Yeah.
That's what they thought in this neighborhood.
Let's peel back the onion a little bit. Because here's what I want. I'm gonna walk you through this, okay? You/Al and the listeners.
Yeah.
Okay, Al
Gore.
My wife said that they're worth X amount of money.
Sure.
And it was low, right?
Yeah.
And you layered on top and you said, nah, I think they're going to be worth this. Where did you derive your initial pricing from?
Looked at the market, so it wasn't just off of my gut. There was two parts. There was a gut part and an analysis part.
And tell them about your gut part first.
So the gut part was just
you can't buy
10 years of industry. No.
Oh,
my gut part was I've done this before on a smaller scale, so now I'm doing it on a bigger scale. So it just makes sense, logical. My analysis part was I literally looked at the available units, and there was nothing for new for less than $350 or $325
in Longmont.
In Longmont. Mm-hmm. So this is new. The square footages are about the same. There's nothing less than that.
Yep.
So it's above 300.
It's above. Done. It's got to be above 300, right?
Yeah.
But then the final numbers that you came up with, again, that it was all derived from there. Yeah.
Well, and then literally, then I put my gut and my brain together, and I said 325 for the small ones, and it came in at 327.
Yep.
So I was wrong.
Yeah. Right, in a good way. But the bigger one's 395. Was for a different reason, right? So then here's where I'll jump in and I'll kind of peel back the onion a little bit. So if you're a first time homeowner or about to be homeowner and you buy a house, right? You say let's say you're in a hot market and the house was on the market for $180,000. You're going to put an offer in for $200,000 because it's that hot, and it was like that for Colorado for a while. It's kind of cooled down a little bit. The fear by putting up $200,000 and saying that you're going to do like a first-time home buyer's loan too, where you only put maybe 3.5 or 5% down. The fear is you don't have the money to make up that $20,000 gap, and therefore you better hope that the bank and the appraiser agree on, yep, in this market it's worth, even though it's only on the market for $180,000, it's worth $200,000. And the trick was what I've heard over and over again, and I've seen physically. I've seen just from other deals that I've been a part of as just an observer is that, how the appraiser's going to look at the square footages. They're not going to even see your offer. Fake news. They literally see the offer, and everybody wants to make money in the deal. So this is something that really happens. And by all means, I'm not a financial advisor. The total disclaimer here. I'm just telling you about my anecdotal evidence and what I'm seeing. So now, catapult that thinking into a development, right? You want the appraiser to appraise for the projection that you're putting out there, like Alex talked about, right? So how do you do that? Because what happens is if you're going to go to a bank and they're going to hire the appraiser because they have selected ones that they work with. You're going to write the bank a check, and then the appraiser is going to be in contact with you, the architect / developer. Hopefully you're both things, but especially if you're putting the developer hat on. You're going to feed them the information. You're going to feed them the square footages. You're going to feed them the numbers. You're going to feed them the storyboards. And guess what happens at the end of the day is the appraiser comes back and he looks at all those things and he considers them. That's why your renderings are absolutely 100% important. The square footages you come up with and fight for with the county, like we talked about before, making sure that every square foot of finished and heated and cooled space is accounted for, even if it's a stairwell on the lower floor. Is accounted for, because then when it goes to, then they're gonna see, number one, the square footages that you have fought for. Number two, they're gonna see all the renderings and the product that you're trying to establish, especially if it's in an area like we're developing. And then number three, they're gonna go, okay, I know the criteria. Now, what is the comparable? Oh, you've put them in a position that they have to look at what you originally had planned for in your head, even if the surrounding neighborhood doesn't match that. They have to go past that. And that's how you get them to, boom, there. You just created value using all of your design skills.
Yep. And then what was also crazy is that normally you can almost guarantee appraisals come in at like whatever someone offers for. This was unique in that it came in higher than what we think it should go for this. It came in higher. Like that actually blew my mind. Blew my mind. And the second thing, too, just going back about the land, I wonder how much the appraiser is into what's going on. And if we decided, hey, we're going to sell the land with the documents, anyone who wants to build it could, knowing that, it's already been pre-approved so that you can build this without the inclusionary housing ramifications, whatever those are going to be. Like, that adds $100K right there.
There you
go. $100K right there.
$100K right there. Yeah, and maybe that's why the land we ended up getting a bit of an Easter egg, so to speak, again.
Yeah.
About that. So just know that, like, you need, you're sort of leading the horse, right? The whole time. And you're sort of leading the horse, all of these entities, into believing in your project. And then the final piece is, I talked with my wife last night, and she goes, all right, you've convinced me. Now with the sellers, or with the people who are going to buy it, like, yeah, you guys are bringing this product up here, and that's the pitch I'm going to make. And I go, exactly. Now you're on board. This is where we're at. Yeah. This is not a not speculative project. This is 100%. And you got to convince people.
Not that location doesn't matter, not that neighborhoods don't matter, but there's a transition, and it's subtle, and it's the right developers are doing it and doing it correctly. So Jonathan Seagal's son, again, bought right outside where the hot neighborhood was, and then sold for a bunch. Our main man, TV, you know who I'm talking about. That's his whole strategy. I would say the other one, the MRK, not MRK, but the other M1, I think he kind of does. He does the same thing. What are we talking about? It was behind Target.
Same thing. And then the folks you met with me on Wednesday, who were actually developing a sixplex for, same thing. They know they're the first out of the market. They're the first out of the box. But you're getting a land price for it's a little bit cheaper. So you are literally creating the market. I can't stress that enough.
And here's why I think it flies. If you do that nice development, that nice design, big windows, think about what everything's new in there. You have a nice new TV. Think about your world. That world is perfect and nice and worth that value. But still think about if the neighbor, obviously, if you're in Detroit or these other places, or that probably doesn't apply. But if you're in a relatively okay area, but it's not the hottest neighborhood, you put that hot piece of design on there, and then they get in their Tesla, and it's super nice. And in 2 years, it'll be driving them. They won't even see the outside, and then they'll get in their IBM job or whatever it is, and their whole world is equivalent to that almost nice neighbor, You get where I'm saying now,
Absolutely.
Like their perspective?
Absolutely. And it's all about painting that picture for them and them buying into the picture. And them another thing is like, then there's extracurricular stuff that I think that you need to pay attention to. And here's where your realtor comes into play. Here's where other opinions, you have to take their opinions seriously. So there's a bank that's right next to ours. Our piece of property. It's an abandoned bank. And one thing I'm going to do ahead of the game, I haven't even told you this, is that I'm going to contact that owner, we've talked with him several times. I'm going to say, hey, what if we offer discounted design services for you? Or would you be open to us just coming in there and we get some concept drawings going or something like that? So that way, when we go to market this thing, we say like, this is going to be redeveloped. It's going to be look at how this whole neighborhood is transforming.
So, brilliant idea. He has some really good concept images, better than the ones that you showed the other developers. So I know he already has them done by another architect. So like either we get a hold of those or ask to do some. And then the pitch to him is, hey, if we get a hold of these, when we're marketing, we're giving you free advertisement. Like, hey, this is upcoming, this is cool, and to get interest in your project and get pent up demand for what you are doing. So that's our sell to him. Like, hey, can we have these? Because people are going to be asking about the neighborhood, stuff like that. And we want to give you free advertisement because honestly, it helps us too.
Yep. 100%. Yeah.
And that needs to be clear that like when we do let's say we put one or two on the market. I literally want to like open the office, like have a blitz, like we'll have a showing, hey, you can walk through there or you could come walk through here and then show them this, is what's going to be next to it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Exciting. You get the excitement going. You make the sale. You crush it. Yeah. Awesome. Good stuff. What do you got next now?
Okay. Unfortunately, we had to lay someone off at our firm. It doesn't.
First time we've ever done it.
Yep. Doesn't matter why. Actually, a good employee. Really like that person. But it was sad. And the only thing I wanted to talk about is because we kind of laid off someone before way back in the day, but it was kind of mutual. It wasn't a big deal. Is lessons learned. What to do, what not to do. And I think the most important one that is very true is once the decision has been made, you're talking about it back and forth in your head, it should, whatever. Once it's yes, do it as soon as possible.
And I'll give you a little bit of backstory. Again, not naming names or anything. So Alex and I were talking about this, and we had several discussions, and I was already of the convincing that nope, the decision has been made. We've done the due process. It's the longer we string this out. Let's say we just said, there's a better day, because I asked this question in the Entre Architect community, like, best advice for doing this. Never done it before. Some people said, do it Wednesday, do it Monday, do it Friday, do it whatever day, do it Thursday. It was just all over the place. And some of the answers that stuck out were, no, you just do it. You just do it as soon as possible, because if you string it out, you're going to second guess yourself. You're going to it's just going to, there's this weight that's going to be held over everybody's head. And at the end of the day, like, if your decision isn't going to change, don't let it change, and just make it happen.
The only thing this is just personal, I don't like doing it on a Friday afternoon.
That's fair.
I think it's better. Even some people said Monday, which is great too, because in my head, again, this did happen to me. I did get laid off, and it was on a Friday afternoon, and it was totally different because it was 10 years ago. It was back in the recession, all that other stuff. But just psychologically, if it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whatever, okay, I got laid off. Now, obviously emotions will be high, but I can actually do stuff now. I can actually pick up a phone and call someone and set up a meeting immediately. So let's talk about the opposite. Let's say you get laid off. Let's say you're listening to this podcast. I'm guaranteed someone listening to this podcast will get laid off. There's 1,000 people. It's going to happen. It could be Lance. I could lay off Lance tomorrow. Who knows?
Could happen. Cayko.
And I think action is what you need to do. And I think almost you should have a protocol for this eventuality, right? So, hey, sulk, have a pizza, have some ice cream. Then what? Then work out, call someone, get your resume in order, start pounding the pavement, and now you're ready to rebound. And so that's why I like doing it not on a Friday.
Right. Exactly. You're who knows? It just there you go. That's maybe just the big, again, it's like these big no-nos. I don't think you do it on a Friday either. I think it's a terrible day.
Yep.
Just for us, it's a no-no. Yeah. There are a couple other no-nos, I think, is you keep it business. You make sure that this is a business decision. This is not a personal decision in the discussion. You are adamant about that. The other party is going to want to try to pull you into second chances. What can we do better? You just stick. Your decision has been made. But then a positive thing I think you try to do is you try to do the best you can as an employer, and soften the landing in a couple different ways. So what we did is we called a couple contractors, we called a couple architects that we know, and we said, hey, we're going to do this tomorrow. Do you have any leads on anything? Could we send this person your way? I think it's huge of you to try to do that. Nobody did that for me. I know Alex. I know a lot of like what we say over and over again and how we run F9 is because of what people didn't do. And for us, and we tried to, because we thought like we were the best coming out of NDSU. People should respect that. I understand that doesn't always happen, but you learn. It's like your parents, right? You try to fill in the gaps that you think they didn't do, right? And then obviously you have your own gaps, and then your kids are going to do the same thing. The other thing is have something written that says, hey, you can, if it's possible. I understand that not everybody can be a reference, but if it's possible, if you can still be a reference for that person. Have something written down, because it will, you're going to have, your emotions are going to get hit a little bit, and obviously theirs are, but have something written down so that you can cleanly recite it to them and tell them, hey, I will be a reference for you. Here's exactly what I will say. And read it to them and tell them.
You know what we could have done better? I forgot. When I got laid off, I got a full reference letter from Daniel Liebskin.
There you go.
Letter.
There you go. That could be even better.
With copies and stuff
Smart.
like that. Because then, obviously, if they're at your firm and if you're laying them off, it's for cause, but it's not like that's not the whole value of the person. Because another part of it is like, oh, maybe some of that person's work wasn't there, like dropped off. And then in combination with all these things. So like, if you're doing this, try to see, okay, where could they fit? Where do I have contacts? And let me make a list to them to help them. And then also, here's a recommendation letter, full letter that we stand behind.
Severance pay is also a good thing. I will give the firm that I was laid off from a little bit of credit. They did give me $1,000 walking money. That was pretty impressive. It wasn't full 2 weeks pay. That's what we gave. But they, I think that goes a long way.
We didn't cut off insurance. Like I got cut off insurance immediately. No, insurance keeps going to the end of the month.
Didn't do stuff like that. But you just try to make it as clean as possible. It's just like anything else, though. If you've ever broken up with a girlfriend, if you've ever broken up with a boyfriend, if you've ever broken up with your best friend, there's no way to not have that happen. It to feel a little bit like that.
And you could think about this in a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, too, because here's how to keep it professional, but you need to have a reason. And I kind of jumped in. So, like, if you had a boyfriend or girlfriend breakup, don't go into like, in this fight you said this. In this fight, but I only said that because of this, right? Same thing for a business. Well, in this project, this didn't happen, this didn't happen, this didn't happen. And then they could find one or two reasons why that didn't happen. You don't go into that level. So in either scenario, I love how we're giving relationship advice when we shouldn't be, because who knows, is no, okay, I'm not going to this is what I said. We're not going to get into any specifics. But on a philosophical level, these were the issues. Blah, 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 blah. It's philosophical. Philosophical. I'm trying to think of an example that isn't, the example. I
don't think it matters.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You're trying. You just keep it at a higher philosophical level.
But you have to give that reason.
Yes.
Because people need to know.
They need closure. They need some level of closure.
Yep.
Even if it's not the exact one they want, there's got to be some level of closure.
It's also unfair, because think about this. They're people. And if you don't, and they might decide that, hey, that philosophical level doesn't apply. That's fine, but at least they know for this one instance, it was because of that reason. If you don't tell them, who's to say they won't go make the same mistake? They could by choice. That's up to them. But you owe it to that other person, because they are a person, to let them know this is why. This is why. And then to go back, to you need to. This can't obviously be a blindside. So you need to be serious. And let's say it was basically for us, it's a 3-strike rule, right? So those strikes normally come like we do a walking meeting, or you go to like a coffee shop or something like that. So that should be known that that's happening. I'm going to make it more known if those meetings happen. But the thing I was thinking in my head, I'm less, what's the word I'm looking for? Stern. Thank you. Than Lance, because I thought like, man, am I being clear enough? Because sometimes I'm too nice. And I go, well, with Lance, I don't think that you can misinterpret when he's being stern.
Yes. Yeah. I don't think so anyway. I think when I bark, I'm heard.
I think I can be misinterpreted.
Maybe. Al likes to think he's not. Can't be a jerk. It can happen. So
look me in the eyes when you say that.
The last thing I'll say about this, and then we're going to move on, is I don't know how I would have been able to do this without a business partner. So everybody who's a sole practitioner still,
God bless
looking
you.
at you, Nick, I don't know how you do it, man. I really don't. I honestly, like, there are so many tough decisions that Alex and I have had to have multiple discussions about. Or we're in a meeting and one person is a little bit off, or one person can't finish the sentence, and then it works out. So all you sole practitioners out there, God bless you.
Round of applause.
Yeah. Alex is my crutch, and I'm his crutch, so we're weak.
And some of you and ourselves look up to Mark LePage. But it's funny, I'm sure he says this on his podcast, but we were talking about the design and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, don't you realize my wife does all that? He's like,
yeah.
So even guys that you might think, hey, it's Mark. Mark is awesome, of course, but like, nah, he has support system too.
Yeah, exactly. It's like Seagal too. Jonathan Seagal. That's his business partner's his wife.
Really?
Don't
and
forget
his
that.
son was probably the drafter and then took over.
Yep.
I did not know that.
He's said it multiple times. I couldn't do this without my wife. He's very thankful for her.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's all that. Next thing is, I don't want to be right, but
lies.
I am right. I am right, but I don't want to be. So I want to read everybody a little bit of something because you've heard me say it before on this podcast. And so I got this little email from Fairview Commercial Lending, and I'll send it to Al so maybe he can put up the article. So everybody has seen if they have any stocks that the markets have plunged 7%. Quote unquote, our POTUS has said the Fed has gone loco. It's gone crazy, right? So I have a few little excerpts that I want to read about it. So interest rates. The president is clearly putting the blame on Federal Reserve that the interest rates are rising too quickly. He's called out on multiple occasions that the Federal Reserve must be, quote unquote, crazy to raise rates. It's important to note why the Federal Reserve is currently raising rates. So why is the Fed raising rates? According to this article, the Federal Reserve's job is to help not only fight inflation, but smooth out economic cycles. Current inflation has been non-existent as wages have basically stagnated. The Federal Reserve is instead focusing on smoothing out the economic cycle. It appears that the Federal Reserve continues to raise rates to ensure that they have room to drop rates when the next economic cycle hits, which most economists are saying is around 2020. Who has been saying that over and over again? This is the 81st episode of Inside the Firm.
Lance Cayko?
Lance Cayko.
No, that's so funny.
How does he know that? Well, there's a little thing called Austrian business cycle, and a lot of Keynesian economists don't like it because there's not a lot of data. And it really comes down to human action. And so the human action and kind of the natural cycle is like happens every 7 years. We kind of see a pattern here. And when did we come out of the last recession in Colorado? It was 2013. What do you add 7 to that? You're at 2020. Sorry, you were going to say something, Al.
So, also, this is sort of conspiracy theory, but I think it's pretty logical. Their analysis that they said is that we want room to drop the interest rates when we need to, because the solution to a stagnant economy is to drop the interest rates, which is what helped out in the last recession and literally their philosophy, right? So, Lance, now read what they did not say. If they want room to drop it, because that will solve it, they are thus creating the cycle by increasing it.
Exactly. And then also, we can go into, we're not going to, but I would just encourage everybody to Google how the Federal Reserve creates money. And what that ties into is you heard the word stagnation. Why have wages stagnated? And why has buying power stagnated? Well, the more money you print, the less it's worth, right? So all of a sudden, and I'm sure people have seen the memes like of a grocery cart full in 1979, and then what you can buy in a grocery cart in 2018, for instance, right? Like a tenth of what you can buy. Your money is just worth less, right? And if you look up like Nixon in 1971, we're taking off the gold standard. So we don't have sound money. We're in a Keynesian market. So what I want to jump to is, so look that up. It'll be fascinating to you. Hopefully.
Are you going to go off subject? Because I'm
going to stick on one more thing, and that is, so later on in the article, we'll link to this. You should look at it. Is impact on real estate. This is why it matters, right? I mean, the economy matters. Money matters because we are in a high level money market with construction and building. All of us architects. So impact on real estate. The current sell-off is a combination of market uncertainty and rising interest rates, both of which have a profound impact on real estate. Rising rates reduce buying power on a purchase and raises the cost of capital. It also pushes up capitalization rates that decrease the price of commercial real estate, along with actual, quote-unquote, costs associated with real estate. The bigger question is what impact this has on consumer confidence. Both businesses and individuals want certainty before making a long-term purchase. With the gyrations in the stock market, I would expect consumer confidence to decrease. If the market gyrations continue, this will filter through the real estate sales over the next couple months.
So 20 Next year is 2019.
Yeah.
We need to start building immediately
Now,
because
I've been saying that.
I know. Oh, it'll be done in 2019. But the closer you get to 2020, the more scary it gets.
Yep.
I need to.
And that's a major election cycle too, and we can go into all kinds of conspiracies about that as well. But we won't.
Yep. So literally, we've been talking to this one bank. I'm going to talk to another bank, and it was a recommendation from one of our buddies. And if it works out, I'll let you know who it is because it's a bank that you can anywhere you can get these guys, and it's literally going to be if everything sounds great with them, it's going to be a race. You beat this bank, you win. This other bank beats you, you lose. That is it. Done. Oh, that other bank costs us a little bit more. Do not care. This is about speed. This is a speed game
about
now.
speed. It is about speed.
And I feel like we've been conveying that for a while. So if I wish I had time, a bunch of time to read. So do you know who Ray Dalio is?
No, go ahead.
Bridgewater Associates. They manage a whole bunch of money and are literally the biggest and the best at it. In Connecticut, they have, and I don't mean like biggest like Merrill Lynch in New York. I mean like for a private entity. I think they manage billions of dollars, right? Mm-hmm. And their returns consistently for 20, 30 years have beat everyone else, right? Yep. And he does this through a couple unique concepts, right? But I won't go into this. He has a free book out there, and I've glossed through it. I wish I could read all of it, but it's Principles for Navigating Big Debt Crises. Google that. Google Ray Dalio. Put your email in. You get the whole 471-page book.
Nice.
It's interesting.
Yeah. So consider all that stuff because I know we haven't talked about it for a while, but I got that article and I go, God dang it, I love to be right, but I hate to be right about this. I don't want to be right. I've been saying that. I don't want to be right about this. I want something I don't even care if the economy just plateaus. As long as, it just kind of stays steady. It doesn't need to scream ahead like crazy like it did this last year with the stock market. Steady would be nice, instead of these crashes. But we'll see. That's that. What do we got now?
All right. We have our best bud, Nick reads.
Hello, best friends. I hope you had a great week this week. A reading. The regionalism of liberation is the manifestation of the region that is especially in tune with the emerging thought of the time. It's the genius of this region to be more than ordinarily aware and more than ordinarily free. Its virtue is that its manifestation has significance for the world outside itself. To express this regionalism architecturally, it is necessary that there be building, preferably a lot of building, at one time. Only so can the expression be sufficiently general, sufficiently varied, sufficiently forced to capture people's imaginations. A region promotes ideas. A region accepts ideas. Imagination and intelligence are necessary for both. To be expressed, an idea must be built. To be built, it must be particularized, localized, set within a region. And what are important are not the limitations of the region, but the resources of the region. A region's most important resources are its free minds, its imaginations, its stake in the future, its energy, and last of all, its climate, its topography, and the particular kinds of sticks and stones it has to build with. For an architecture to be really great, it must express the variety, freedom, expansiveness, and love of the physical world that are the product of the best regionalism. The regionalism of liberation. Harwell, Hamilton, Harris. A question. Wood or concrete? Toodles.
An answer. Plus glass.
Nice. I'd have no other. That perfect. That's all I got to say is perfect. Wood, concrete,
plus glass. Mm-hmm. It's funny. There's regionalism needs a lot of building. So there's this group called Denver Fugly that just rails on everything. And I came to a conclusion. I told the guys, and I think this is right, they're railing against all building, which we know. They're railing against their own demise because they don't like change. And they always keep bringing up like, I'm a native, we've been here, stuff like this. They're being supplanted by the new and change. And now they have a voice to say it. And it's inevitable that it's going to happen because change is probably the only thing that's pretty constant. So it's like a new company is taking over. Let's just say Tesla. And then Ford and these other, all the old automotive people and CEOs are like, that's dumb. That's never going to work. Oh, I wonder why you have that perspective. Take it, every industry, every company that's being taken over by the upstarts, it's always nascent. Same thing for Amazon, same thing for Apple, every single one. So it's not a company, but it's people, change is happening, and it's not funny. It's kind of crazy, like, oh my God, you guys, you won't be able to do anything about this. So you're just sitting there screaming. It's insane.
Yeah. The liberation of regionalism. I love that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. All right. What do we got next?
Let's bring in the guys for A.R.E. Jeopardy. Here we go, boys. The ratio...
Number one.
Yep. Ratio of unit strain to temperature change, which is constant for a given material, is... A, the coefficient of thermal expansion. B, thermal expansion. C, compression rate. D, modulus of elasticity. So the question is the ratio of unit strain to temperature change, which is constant for a given material, is A, the coefficient of thermal expansion. B, thermal expansion. C, compression rate. D, modulus of elasticity. We got one in. We got two in. We got three in.
Here we go.
We got A, B, A. It is A.
Boom.
The coefficient of thermal expansion, not just thermal expansion.
Nice.
Yep.
Yep.
How much? Two. A metal strip placed on corners before plastering to reinforce and protect the corner is A, flashing. B, corner bead. C, angle iron. D, strip flashing.
A metal strip placed on corners before plastering to reinforce and protect the corner is. Interesting. All right. We got them? We got answers?
Yep. Flashing. B, corner bead. C, angle iron. D, strip flashing. C, B, B. It is B. It is B. It's weird because it's also called angle bead. I don't know why they call it bead.
Is it 1-1-2?
Oh,
1-1-2? 1-1-2.
So
1-1-2. Yep. Okay. Lancey boy's turn. Cayko. Number 3. What is a reinforced concrete column, usually square or rectangular, containing longitudinal reinforcing bars and separate lateral ties, known as A, tied column, B, square concrete column, C, reinforced column, D, column boy. Number 3, what is a reinforced concrete column, usually square or rectangular, containing longitudinal reinforcing bars and separate lateral ties, known as A, tied column, B, square concrete column, C, reinforced column, D, column boy. What do we got, gentlemen? Not a trick question. We have C, and C. The correct answer is tied column.
Yeah.
Kind of was tricky. All right, still 1-1-2?
Yep, but they can come back.
They can come back. Okay, number 4. Here we go. What is a fine-grained soil whose particles are larger than clay and smaller than sand, known as A, sandy clay, B, silt, C, peat, D, sandy loam? What is a fine-grained soil whose particles are larger than clay and smaller than sand, known as A, sandy clay, B, silt, C, peat, D, sandy loam? Huh?
Hey.
What is it, boys? B, D,
B.
B. The correct answer is B.
We have a winner.
We have a winner.
Awesome.
Congratulations. Okay.
So, hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. If you want to still engage with us, we have a book out. It's called The Creativity Code. It's about design, some of our work, and then cool ways to make design even better, make your process better. So check that out on Amazon, The Creativity Code. If you want to know Revit, go to RevitRocketship.com. More people are signing up. It's awesome intro, and then it gives you our template. So basically, it's you're going to learn how to model how a building's built, and it's really going to help you out in the end. There's previews and stuff like that. A guarantee. I even just gave a guarantee today because someone asked for it. Doesn't even matter, so don't even worry about that. And that's all I have. What do you have, Lance?
I have, if you know anybody who is extremely confident about the economy, who is extremely moderate about the economy, or is extremely fearful about the economy, share this episode. This will be episode 80 because of the discussion we had about the Federal Reserve raising interest rates and starting to tank the economy as we head into 2020. Thanks for listening.